Hi everybody, Ryan here from Siege Airsoft. Today we're going to go over what I like to pack for an average game session at Siege. Now, before you start packing, you want to look at the event that you're playing at and pack to the parameters of that event. So the kit that you play at Siege for a pickup game will be different from the kit that you bring out to an 18-hour milsim, and that would be different from kit that you bring out to a tournament or something even more immersive, like a blackline event or some sort of heavy military simulation. For those events, you might be looking at more sustainment gear, more magazines, more kit, stuff like that. At Siege, the parameters are quite different. We're going to include a little bit of a general packing list down below in the description, so be sure to check that out. At Siege, most of the games are pickup games between 10 and 20 minutes long. There's mixed lighting conditions, so you have to take that into account when packing for a day here. First off are going to be essentials, things you need to get on the field so you can actually play. Before you come on the field, make sure that you fill out your online waiver, you verify with your email, and then you book a session that you want to play at when we are open. Next, when you come to the field, make sure that you have some form of government ID on you, as well as a bit of spending money in case you need to buy something like water, BBs, consumables, things like that. Right now, because of COVID, we're not taking cash. We're going to be debit and credit only. When you do have your ID, make sure it's a form of government ID. I'm really surprised at the amount of adults that don't carry their ID with them, so just carry this with you if you want to get on the field. No, your student ID doesn't really count, so make sure it's a proper government ID. Then another thing you want to bring that's super important for airsoft, because it is a physical activity, is making sure that you have water. So make sure that you have some form of hydration with you, because you will be running around. It does get pretty hot and sweaty in there, and you do want to stay hydrated. We don't want to risk dehydration on the field. In terms of clothing and what to wear, it's airsoft, and we're not really running any special events during our open play time, so you can pretty much wear whatever you want, provided it's appropriate. The most important thing I would look at is going to be footwear. When you're playing at Siege, you don't need to wear big, heavy steel-toed boots. You can, but it's not really necessary. The most adverse terrain that we have on here is stairs. What I recommend for shoes is just wearing something like running shoes or trainers. I personally like flat-footed shoes, like sneakers, Vans, stuff like that. I like to kind of feel the ground that way, so that's what I'd recommend, just a good pair of running shoes in here. So for safety kit, you want to make sure that you can actually get on the field and be safe and all that stuff. So first things first is you're going to need some form of eye protection. Now we do sell and rent stuff here if you need to on days that we have those available. For eye protection, it just has to be anything that's rated and full seal and has a retention strap. So these are Valken Axis goggles that I like to use. I like them because they're low profile. I don't wear glasses, so I don't really take that into account. They fit over my eyes pretty easily like this, and they provide a good full seal with a retention strap so it doesn't fall off. When you're buying goggles, make sure that the lens or the documentation has the ANSI rating of Z87.1, which means that it's rated for impact, so that you can use them at our field. If your goggles don't have that, we're probably going to deny them, or we'll test them by shooting them point blank with a pretty powerful gun, and they have to pass our test to be able to be used. So we don't want to risk anybody losing their eyes, so be sure you have these on you. I also like to get a mesh mask, so this one I have clips onto my helmet. At Siege, there's a lot of CQB. You could be shooting someone 2 feet away, just the way it is, no meds, because we're a no weenies field. So you want to make sure that your teeth are protected. Now this clips onto my helmet, and when I have my eye pro over it, it just functions perfectly fine. This allows me to get a good cheek weld. It's really cheap. This is just a big one that I kind of cut with some wire snippers. I put some tape over the ends, and it works fine. So for me, because I'm a little bit more fancy and I like to flex, I'm using my Avon FM53. Now this is a full seal gas mask with a filter and all that stuff. And it normally also has like a VPU on it, so I sound like Darth Vader when I'm talking, but it's out there drying out right now. This has a outsert and a rated lens underneath, so it actually has 2 rated lenses on it. Now we do allow gas masks and stuff on Siege, provided that they have a rated lens, just like full seal eye protection, or if you want to use something like a Di-4, that's totally cool too. Just make sure that it's rated for impact. So if you buy like an old Cold War one, it has glass lenses, or you're not really sure, just give us an ask or an email and we'll check for you. But chances are it's probably not going to be allowed, so just be sure to check in advance. So on the Siege Airsoft field, you're going to be doing a lot of kneeling, sliding, shooting on the move and all that stuff. One thing you will notice is because we don't have grass on the floor like those wonderful outdoor fields, BBs will roll and be on top of everything. They can be really painful to kneel on, and kneeling on a bunch of BBs kind of feels like you've just kneeled on a wasp's nest and they're all stinging you. I like to wear these Arc'teryx Leaf kneecaps on my knees. Good knee pads are really awesome at Siege. They'll save your knees, and it's good stuff. So this is just a Flash Force Industries woodland top that I wear all the time. It's pretty salty, but it works really well. The reason I like to wear this over just like a t-shirt or something like that, it gives my arms a little bit of protection against impacts. I don't really care if the BB hurts, I just prefer it not to break skins. Also, having a collared shirt like this one has a really tall collar, helps move the sling around my neck without the sling chafing me, and I kind of like that about it. Then we're going to go over what I would like to wear on my head other than my goggles and stuff like that. So this is my helmet. We went over this in my helmets video that we have on our channel, so be sure to give that a watch on how to set up your airsoft helmet. This is just an FMA Cayman with a bunch of accessories on it. I got some ear pro on here. I got a counterweight pouch for my night vision, and I also run a GoPro. So for those of you who run GoPros or want to record some action footage, helmet's a really great way to mount it because you can get these mounts for the night vision shrouds to mount your GoPro on top. It's pretty standard. Most content creators and stuff like that use that sort of mount. I do like to run ear protection at Siege. Not because we run noise grenades, although some events do have that. It's because they just protect my ears, and getting shot in the ear really sucks. If I get shot here, it's really, really loud and audible, so I don't have to really worry about any non-hear calling issues there. And they just kind of keep my helmet on more stable by clamping it to my head. I also have a kill light on top right here, so if I get shot and it's a low light condition, I can use this to make sure that they know that I'm dead, and that really helps out a lot. So pretty simple bucket setup, nothing too crazy. Watch our bucket video if you want more details on this guy. Now in terms of kit, I like to keep it really simple on the field. I only wear a belt and a chest rig. I don't wear a huge plate carrier, and there's a few reasons for this. First of all, keeping it light allows me to move faster on the field, especially when the field at Siege is relatively small compared to an outdoor space. It's still really big, but you're gonna be moving around a lot, so you wanna make sure that moving is easy. Having also a little bit of kit and not wearing too much allows me to feel my hits better, so it kind of gives me accountability when I have a little bit more skin exposed. So here is my Persec belt. So over here I have two G-code mag pouches. I'm running a M4 mid cap in each of these. These are Maple Airsoft P mags, and here are just my Glock 19 mags that I run in these S-Tacs over here. And here is a tactical tailor dump pouch. I don't use this dump pouch very often. I usually just re-index the mags back in my pouch, but it's there just in case I need it. Especially if I'm reffing, it's really useful for putting armbands and stuff like that in it. On the front, I've clipped on this HK clip my SKD Pig gloves. These are awesome gloves. Now in terms of gloves, I recommend wearing gloves at Siege because getting shot in the hand really sucks and it hurts a lot. If you get good gloves, you won't really lose much dexterity, but it will protect your nails from breaking, skin from breaking, all that stuff. And on this side, of course, and we're gonna get to the gun soon, is gonna be my handgun, my sidearm. This is in an Airsoft Collective holster. This over here is just a Tokyo Marui Glock 19 that I built. It's got like PDI internals, all that good stuff. Nothing too crazy, but it's fun to use and it's pretty cool. Of course, when you're out here in the safe area, you wanna make sure that your magazine is out of the gun and that everything is good to go. So mags out, chambers clear, all that good stuff. On my chest, I like to run my Extreme Gear Labs VOCR3. I recommend a very small and micro chest rig for Siege. You don't need like a 25 mag chest rig here. The games are only between 10 and 15 minutes long, and there's a lot of targets to shoot at, but there's not that many where you need that much sustain. As well, it's indoors, so you're not needing to punch through bush, fight the wind, all that stuff. It should only take you 3-4 BBs per kill at most. This guy's tiny, works really well, has an air mesh in the back, really breathable. It's extremely, extremely minimal, and I really love this chest rig because it's extremely minimal. So over here is just 3 mid-cap AG mags. This is a Maple mag. These are just some EPMs. They work really well. In the front over here, I actually carry my speed loader here because I don't want to lose it. And yeah, it's just a really convenient place to carry it so I don't lose it. Whoop. Here is a training tourniquet, or I use this as an armband on the field. If the referee doesn't have any armbands, you can put this on yourself, and this works as an armband. Just be sure to let them know ahead of time. And in the main GP pouch, I have extra batteries and my LiPo checker. When you come to Siege, a note on batteries, make sure your batteries are charged before you come. I cannot count the amount of times where people have come in with their batteries not charged and their gun not working simply because they forgot to charge their batteries. So a little bit of preparation saves you the pain. And in my dangler, in the bottom, I have a kill rag just in case. It's always good to have. And here I have a Tornado 2 grenade for the fun room breaches. So this is what I'm gonna be wearing on my chest, and that's pretty much it. So of course, this leads to the most exciting part of the video for most of you out there, which is gonna be the gun. Now most of you have already seen the gun I used if you watched our previous video, so that hasn't really changed too much. This is a gun bag. Get one, it's essential. We operate on a no gun bag, no service. If you walk into the field and you don't have a gun bag and you're open carrying a rifle or a pistol out there in the parking lot, we're not going to let you in. It's as simple as that. Yeah, you can argue, you know, it's only 2-3 steps, whatever, but that's public property, that's outside. This is the field. So if you're transporting anywhere outside in public spaces, have it in a gun bag, have it in a box. The less conspicuous, the better. Please, please, please do that. So in my gun bag, which is just a cheapo Valken gun bag, the reason I don't use hard cases is because I'm not transporting this gun anywhere adverse. Hard cases are big, they're sexy, but they just take up a lot of room. I just don't need them. In the front over here, another mag. So I fully load my chest rig with mags. So I have 3 mags in the front, 2 mags on the side, and then 1 mag in the gun, giving me 6 mags in total. It's a bit overkill for Siege, but I like to have more, so that way I don't need to reload as much. My mags are all numbered and labeled and all that stuff, so I can just, you know, swap between my mags and stuff if needed, and I can just kind of skip the reloading process between games. It just makes things a lot easier for me and a lot quicker for the referees, so I don't waste anybody's time. I'll also carry 2 of my main batteries in here. These ones are fully charged and good to go. I just carry them in the pouch on the outside. It's super simple, nothing too crazy there. Now inside the gun bag is going to be the gun. So what you will need for Siege is going to be a barrel cover or a barrel sock. Make sure it's for airsoft. Don't put a glove at the end of your barrel. It needs to be retained by an elastic, a string, and those friction barrel plugs don't really work either. It needs to be one with a string. You should be able to find this in any airsoft store, and we do sell them here if you need them. Before I get into what's on the gun, you want to make sure that this gun does follow the rules of engagement here, which means that it can fire on semi. We're a semi-only field unless otherwise specified in the rule sets for that specific day or game mode. Then you want to look at the FPS and the velocity of your gun. So the rules here are going to be 380 FPS on a 0.2 gram BB with the hop-up off. And the reason we turn the hop-up off is so that we get the true reading of the gun's velocity. Some people can cheat the chrono by cranking the hop-up all the way on, so they put a buttload of friction on the BB, and that slows the BB down enough where it can go down like 40 FPS. So if somebody's gun is shooting like 420, then it can go to 380. And that's cheating the chrono. We don't want to do that. If you're running a HPA gun or a gas gun, we're kind of trying to move towards joules as a universal movement in the industry anyways. Those are going to be chronoed to 1.34 joules, which is the same thing as 380 FPS with a 0.2 gram BB, with any BB up to a 0.3. Of course, when you're playing, you can use any BB that's non-bio, non-silica, obviously, up to a 0.3. I like to use these Toronto Airsoft 0.28 BBs. They're affordable, they work really well, and they're great. Personally, I use 2.8 BBs in my gun because they give the gun a little bit more range and consistency when you're shooting out a little farther. While we are indoors, you will need to land some cross-field shots if you're really cool, you know, shooting all the way from Illuminati building to Mansion building or something like that. So it's good to be able to push your gun out for that little bit of range. This is a VFC DD-M4 with a Geisley rail on it. So on this gun, I have a Magpul stock, pretty simple. I have a Ferro Concepts 2-point sling steer. This is actually a bike light, and it's an emergency kill light that I have in my gun in case I kind of don't want to reach for my helmet, or if I don't put my helmet on, I can turn this light on to act as a kill light, and it's just attached there via the strap and Velcro. Moving from the back to the front, I have an optic here. Now optics are really good to have because if you are aiming in low light situations, sometimes you don't want to turn your flashlight on and give yourself away. You can line your shots up really nice with an optic without having to trace your BBs and do all that stuff. This is just a hollow sun on a die-tack nice armament mount. Now on the rail, front sling point of course, and I'm running a dual mod button light setup with an Arisaka E2XT 600 light. So this is a really bright, really throwy light, lots of fun. And over here, I have my HoloSun LS321 laser for my night vision unit. On the topic of lasers, we do not allow any visible lasers on the Siege Airsoft field because a lot of visible lasers, especially ones that you buy from airsoft stores, are not rated. We don't know if they're eye safe or not, so we just don't allow them just to avoid any trouble, and you shouldn't really need them anyways. For IR lasers, it's kind of the same deal. However, if you are using night vision and you can provide proper documentation for an IR laser that is class 1, we will allow you to use an IR laser if it's class 1 and eye safe. So if you do plan on attending a night game of ours or a hardcore night or a milsim night, make sure that you have laser documentation with your laser so that you can show us and we can let you use it with your nods. Now, there's no one here today, so I'm gonna take off my barrel sock, however, don't normally do this. And on the front, I just have a little bit of an amp. This is a PTS Griffin QD blast shield. It just makes the gun a little more poppy, it looks cool, it doesn't really do anything other than look cool. And yeah, that's my rifle. This gun is shooting at 350 FPS with this lower, so it is well within field limits. Again, you want to make sure that your gun is shooting within field limits. If it does not and it fails the crony check, you can either rent a gun from us or you're going to have to get a spring change from a buddy here. So that's pretty much everything I like to bring on the field. It might seem like a lot, but it's really not too much. It's basically primary, secondary, belt, mask, helmet, and chest rig. It's super, super basic. I don't like to carry everything under the kitchen sink. Again, games at Siege are between 10 and 20 minutes long, so you don't really need to account for everything happening because the staging area is only a 5-minute walk from the back of the field. So that's what I like to pack for Siege, everybody. That's pretty much it. Hope to see you soon. Have a good day, stay safe out there, and remember, keep practicing and get good.